Hey, what's up, family? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Courage Chronicles, where we sit down with regular, everyday people who found the courage to pursue passion. Because as you've heard me say so many times before, everybody dreams, but not everyone finds the courage to pursue that dream. Listen, I'm so excited right now because I have a brother, a friend with me right now. This brother is brilliant. This brother is an entrepreneur. This brother is a family man. This brother is a believer. He's a minister of the gospel. This brother is the owner and the CEO of the 352 Hauling Crew and Junk Removal here in Gainesville, Florida. I want you to welcome Chris Harmon to the pod. Chris, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed by the best. Happy to be here, sir.
Absolutely, man. As always, brother, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit and dropping some knowledge, blessing the pod. I want to go ahead and jump right in and ask you, where did the idea for this 352 hauling crew that I see blowing up all over social media, where did this idea come from?
Oh man. So I'm gonna give you the short version. So but long story short, it's several components. I studied the industry about 4 years in different aspects before I actually finally pulled the trigger. And
Yeah.
so I start with just kind of backing up to the first thing that I did before I got to that final decision to launch 352 Hauling Crew. I started off
Hmm.
looking into hot shot trucking. You ever heard of that before? Hot shot trucking?
I haven't. Hmm.
Yeah, hot shot trucking. Um, Not necessarily what I do at 352 Hauling Crew, but similar in nature as it relates to having a
Okay.
really big truck and having a huge trailer and making money transporting. With hot shot
Okay.
trucking, when you see people doing the car hauling, that's a form of hot shot trucking. Or having a heavy
Okay.
duty truck, flatbed trailer. Basically, if you're pulling a heavy load but you're not inside of a semi truck, that's normally known as hot shot trucking. And so
Okay.
you're expediting something to a location that they don't need it to go by semi because it may take too long. And so I studied
Okay.
hot shot first, and what kind of sparked that, I was working at the Walmart distribution center, had been there for about 10 years. I became one of the
Okay.
dock runners where I got trained on driving the semis, backing the semis up to the truck doors for receiving and distribution.
Sure.
While doing that job, we had to back up 150 semis per day. So that's a lot of backing up
Wow.
trucks. And so while I'm doing that,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, like, how could I do something with a big truck and trailer and obviously do it for myself because I'm doing this at Walmart 12 hours a day. And so
I got you.
that was my first introduction to looking at that particular concept. The second thing I looked at was the guys that do the storm chasing with the FEMA and the debris cleanup when you have all
Okay.
these hurricanes in Florida. So
Yeah.
at that concept, that's more so having a big trailer like I have now, putting a tractor in it so you can,
Yeah.
do the clean up, move trees, things of that nature. And the challenge with hot shot trucking as well as the disaster cleanup with the storm relief was that both of them would require me to be gone from home a significant amount of time. My wife and I have 3 kids.
I got
So
you.
money was there through the study of those aspects, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I got to be gone too long to, make the money. And I'm one of those people. I'm not willing to sacrifice my wife and kids for a dollar bill. And
For
so,
sure. Absolutely.
yes, sir, landing from those dynamics to 352 Hauling Crew, right before I launched 352 Hauling Crew, I was working with a really good friend of mine. I was a fleet manager for him in a company called Truck Game. So,
Okay.
been in my truck industry, looking at the Walmart contracts, Amazon contracts, and helping my buddy manage that fleet and grow his particular company. One of the things
Hmm.
that I look as it relates to the whole junk removal demolition space, I also have a background in real estate and insurance. So now as I'm
Hmm.
putting all the factors together, working at Walmart, looking at storm relief, looking at hot shotting, when both of those options are off the table, and now I'm sitting here
Yeah.
working with a guy doing truck game on the semi truck side of things, I'm knowing in my head, you know what? I understand contracts, I understand the negotiation, I understand the systems. And so when I looked into the whole demolition and junk removal side of things, what actually sparked my interest was really a faith move from how God was dealing with my heart. I saw that when
Mm.
people do junk removal and demolition, it's not sustainable. And because it wasn't
Mm.
sustainable, That's exactly what made me want to do it. I love high risk situations that a lot of people cannot maintain. And so when I
Wow.
saw that, yeah, man, when I saw that, I knew I could kill it. And so we think about it from this particular aspect. A lot of people who do hauling, if they're in the junk space, they're doing things like scrap metal. They may haul a little bit of trash, a little bit of debris here and there, so on and so forth. Most of those people are more so on the labor mind of things, and they're just kind of trading
Yeah.
time for a little bit of money. And so I knew that if I formulated a system that was more so centered around business and contracts, I could outrun everybody that would try to compete with me because I understood the corporate side. I wasn't focused on the trash side. So my angle was always looking at how do I be contractual and business oriented versus being on
Yeah.
the angle of trash.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Man, no, that's really interesting, and I love the fact that you're a risk taker, and
Yeah.
you saw a space where people weren't excelling, and you're like, that's the area I want to go in, and you went into it with a plan, and you had a that's so amazing, man. I want to go I want to go back to the beginning, Chris. You know, thinking about where did this entrepreneurial mindset come from? Like, were you raised around business owners when you were a kid? Where did this mindset come from?
Man, I was raised with two parents that were really, really high on education. I'm the oldest of four. My parents went to
Mm.
FSU, and my mom and dad. Well, my mom was a minister of music at the church I grew up in. We grew up in a Pentecostal holiness church, and my mom and dad were also youth pastors at the church. So I always share with
Okay.
people, I was what you call a drug baby. Not from the position of like parents on crack, but I was drugged to church
Yeah,
24/7.
I
So
feel you. Been there, bro.
yes, sir. So long story short, no, man, I entrepreneurship family, but I grew up. My household, great household, got great parents. However, the only thing that I heard was education, education, ministry, 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 and I saw my parents work really hard and go to church all the time. And I knew from a young kid that there had to be more to life than that. And it's no disrespect to my
Mm,
parents. That's just where they
sure.
were in their journey and their time span.
Yeah,
But that particular pattern and having two parents that were educators, also heavily involved in ministry, I knew there was no way in hell I wanted to go to college. That
yeah,
was the
yeah,
first
yeah,
mind. And so
yeah,
for me, I knew I had to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I did
yeah.
know it wasn't going to college to pursue financial freedom.
I got you. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That's awesome. Um, Now, one of the things that I say often on this podcast is that many people have dreams, they have passion, but very few actually find the courage to pursue their dreams, to pursue that passion. Where did the courage come from to say, you know what, I've worked in this industry, I have an understanding of it. I think I can launch out and do my own thing. How did you find the courage? Where did that come from?
A number of things, man. Part of it is definitely having faith in God and also too some of the things that God used in my pre-Jesus days. Before I rededicated my life back to God and started living right, I had a season of my life where I was out there living in the world, just doing my own thing. And so when I
Yeah,
was in the street, I sold a little bit of drugs, nothing major, but I gambled with the dope boys 24/7. And so I
I got
love to take risk because that's where the money was at. So um, the gambling in the streets and then getting converted to the things of the kingdom and learning about faith, it was a match
you.
made in
Yeah,
heaven, man. Because I look at faith is very similar to being on the card table gambling. When you're playing your hand, you don't know what everybody else got going on, but you have to
yeah,
have the willingness and the understanding that whatever hand you got what it takes to win this game. And
for
so,
sure.
from the secular side to the things of the kingdom, on this side, there's more so an inner knowing where I'm comfortable betting on myself. And also, too, to kind of further answer your question, this is one of the things as relates to the driving force behind entrepreneurship and the success of 352 Hauler
Yeah,
Crew that a lot of people haven't heard. about 5 years ago, my wife and I, we went through a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. We lost absolutely everything. I bought my first house at age 24. I lost that house at age 34. And so when I lost that house 5 years ago, my wife, myself, our three kids, we were living with my wife's best friend for about 7 months. And we were in a
Hmm.
600 square foot apartment, one bedroom, one bath. Three grown women
Wow.
getting up every day to head out the house. We got up like NASCAR, everybody trying to race to the bathroom, get a shower, get out the door, get the day started.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that process, my wife's best friend, she allowed us to sleep in her bedroom. She slept on her sofa, and my kids were sleeping on the floor. And so
Wow.
I say this, my drive and my insight behind entrepreneurship comes with, high risk. It comes with a faith and a belief in God, but it also comes with a tenacity of I understand exactly what it feels like to have perfect credit and also, have horrible credit.
Yeah.
Again, having 24, losing at age 34, your drive and your hunger is a whole lot different. And so it's those
Wow.
things that built a lot of the success that I walk in now.
Man, that's beautiful. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I say often is a quote from Les Brown, as he says that the graveyard is the richest place on earth because it's there that you can find all of the hopes and the dreams and the books that were never written and the songs that were never recorded and the businesses that were never started. Why do you think so many people leave this earth full? Full of all of the potential, full of all of their ambition. They never go after it. Why do you think so many people settle for safety, a safe life, rather than a purpose driven life?
Man, that's a great question. Um, I think you have three leading components when you think about that. Number one, I would say being fear, and
Hmm.
I think it's the fear of failure, which I know in the entrepreneurship world we hear that a lot. But I don't think it's just a
Sure.
fear of failure. When I say fear, I'm talking about the fear of stuff that's not even real, the lies that people
Mm.
tell themselves in their mind, the imaginary
Yeah.
story about rehearsing the worst case scenario. Then
Wow.
you have the inconsistency. So when a person gets ready to think about launching out on an idea and they start to move forward and it's not taking off as fast as they want it to, they start making
Yeah.
excuses. One of my mentors always taught me, he's a guy named Jefferson Green, he shared with me the problem with excuses is that once you make a couple of them, it gets easy to do it all the time. And
I
so,
like that.
yeah, man. So when you start thinking about fear as it relates to the imaginary conversation that people are
Yeah.
having, the imaginary stories that people run through their mind and rehearse to themselves, and then you think about the inconsistency, the last thing you have is the anxiety and the depression that comes around being an entrepreneur or launching out on something that's new. And so,
Yeah.
even something I've had to deal with when I first started having a lot of super, super massive success in 352 Hall Crew, my schedule was getting so booked so fast. I remember sitting down looking at
Mm.
my calendar one day and fear just gripped my body. And it was so to the
Wow.
point I look at my calendar because I had so much work and so many activities lined up. And so for me, being
Wow.
a believer was something that I took to God in prayer. I also began to
Yeah.
talk to my friends about it, other people who are entrepreneurs much further ahead than me. And I would not allow
Right.
myself stuck in this place because I knew that God didn't give me the spirit of fear.
That's
However,
right.
your question, when you think about anxiety, a person is over anxious of the future and they're thinking about something that hasn't even taken place yet. When you think about
Yeah, that's
depression,
true.
depression is anger turned inwards. So a person is now stuck in the past and they can't move forward because they keep thinking about the results that they don't want. And the more you think about the
Mm.
thing that you don't want, it keeps you from doing the thing that you actually want to do. So being stuck,
That's
now
right.
you're in this of compelled in this recycling form of just this old story that you hate, but you can't get out
Mm.
of it. And so
Mm.
those three things create what's called a limiting belief. And that's the core reason why people go to the graveyard full and they don't die empty. Because the limiting
Wow.
belief That's the real thing that's keeping a person back. And it comes from those things that I just mentioned. The fear
Wow.
around and not having consistency, and then not knowing how to deal with anxiety and depression. If you can conquer those things, you can have it all.
Wow. Man, that's so powerful. You said a mouthful. Wow. Um, Listen, you have so many posts on social media that are so thought provoking. Sometimes I want to just pick up the phone and just say, man, what do you mean by this? Or what do and I always have an appreciation for you being a conscious thinker and a conscious communicator on social media. Few things I want to ask you about. There's a post you made. You said, stop getting distracted by things that have nothing to do with your goals, right? So I want to ask you, because I think that's something that everybody struggle with, just being distracted, whether it's on social media, whether it's, whatever you're into. So, I mean, your business is doing so well right now, man. What do you do to eliminate those distractions? Like, how do you stay focused on a day-to-day basis?
Man, great question. And to the tune of everything you're sharing, man, I love being transparent because all of us as people, we're actually more alike than we are different. And
For
I
sure.
say this, a lot of my posts, they derive from things that I've been through that God has allowed and graced me to overcome. So one of
Yeah.
the things that I do, I solve for solutions. Going back to the whole dynamic of a lot of people being stuck with anxiety and the depression and how to come out of that.
Yeah.
One of the things I do to stay focused, I keep myself away from anxiety and depression by number one, meditating on the Word of God. Number
That's
two,
good.
I have practical solutions. So I have spiritual solutions because we're three-part beings. We are spirit. We have our own free will, what we call our
Yeah.
agency. And that's our will, our mind, our emotion, our intellect, and we live in a body.
Mhm.
And so, with
Yeah.
that being said, to be able to really minister to and take care of the whole man as individuals, I meditate spiritually, but then practically, I have this statement. It goes like this: I am where my feet are, meaning that I am never overoccupied about the future, and I refuse to think about anything that has happened in the past. I am where
Wow.
my so I have a ledger that I use almost every single day. I don't always write down in it every day, but most days I do. And
Yeah.
whatever I'm a day-to-day task, especially if my day is really busy, anything that is not on that ledger, it doesn't exist and it's not of importance. And so what
Mm.
that allows me to do is stay grounded in my mission, vision, and values. So now
Yeah.
operating from a God type complex. The Bible says that God
Hmm.
has made us in his likeness and in his image. That means that
Yeah.
we are the form of God's creation. And so so one of the things I do too, I do entrepreneurship coaching. And so I share this with my entrepreneurship students. You have to know within your knower, within the core part of your soul, your spirit, all of your being, you are the
Yeah.
highest form of God's creation. And if you know that, then you should act like it. Me
Yeah.
acting I'm the highest form of God's creation, it allows me to subdue what's in front of me and not be caught
Yeah.
off guard by what I don't have or what's not in front of me. Because you, again, back to the mental illusion. When a person is distracted, they don't know it until they're done being distracted, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And so
Yeah.
being focused is literally driving down deep on your mission, vision, and values. Like it says in Habakkuk, write the vision, make it plain so the reader can run thereby. It's the same thing in
Yeah.
your day to day. I get up, I have a morning routine. First thing that I do every single morning, after thanking God for waking up in the morning, I do the Proverbs of the day. So whatever, let's say
Yeah.
if it's the day is the 25th. So this morning I did Proverbs chapter 25. I'll journal alongside Proverbs 25. So if anything just
Yeah.
kind of leaks to me, I may write down 3 or 4 scriptures on whatever I'm reading. When I get done with
Yeah.
the scripture, I get up, say a quick prayer. I meditate on those things because now I'm being mindful of seeking first the kingdom, and I'm also
Yeah.
allowing myself to know my identity is not in what I need to do today. My identity
Yeah.
is in the fact that I'm a fulfilled person apart from our responsibilities and obligations. That's how I stay
Wow.
focused.
Man, that's awesome. That is awesome. Another post that you made that I want to ask you about, you said, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." Talk to me
Yes.
about the importance of a healthy circle as you're pursuing purpose.
I would say it's one of the most highest importance there is. For example, you think about when God dealt with Abraham. Before God gave Abraham any promise, the first thing that He told him was, "Get away from your father's house and your kindred of people," because
Hmm.
environment has more to do with your success than hereditary does. And so, if
Yeah.
you're not in the environment and you're not hearing the right information, by default, you're hearing the wrong stuff, and that's where most people live.
Mm.
And so I'm pretty sure you probably heard this statistic before. The crazy thing about it, from nation to nation, this is not an American thing. This is a universal thing. No matter
Yeah.
where you see in the world, the five people that you normally hang around the most, your income
Hmm.
is somewhat similar. That's
That's
not a
right.
coincidence. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It is, and it doesn't matter if
Absolutely.
it's black, polka dot, Vietnamese doesn't matter. And so
Yeah.
when you think about concepts like that, there was one study that talked about how your gut line, your waist, not just your
Yeah.
money, your eating
Hmm.
condition, your thought
Yep.
patterns, very similar to the people that you're dealing with. And so, if you want to upgrade your life, you have to upgrade the conversations that you're having so that you can have
Yeah.
more exposure and you can add more value to humanity.
That's good, man. I love that. Now, Chris, you're a husband, you're a father, you're a minister of the gospel, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, coach. How do you balance everything? I mean, you're wearing a lot of hats. How do you keep the main thing the main thing? How do you prioritize? How do you keep your life balanced?
Great question, man. Um, I would say number one, the text says, "He that findeth a wife find a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord." And so
Facts.
I I have a good wife that helps shoulder a lot of things administratively. Um, and then
Awesome.
also too, having a proud life and like I shared a little earlier, not having my identity in anything that's outside of me. So with all the hats
That's
that I
good,
wear,
man.
abilities, different things I'm involved in, I don't allow my identity to be subject to 352 Hall and Crew or to coaching entrepreneurs or even to the preaching of the gospel. This is one thing I wish a lot of my pastoral friends understood. If you allow it, so much of even the church can become your identity, and that can get
Hmm.
dangerous. And so,
For sure.
my identity is in Christ, number one. And then
Yeah.
secondly, putting boundaries in place. Like I talked about, having that ledger and living through the mission, vision, and values. If you know exactly where you're going, you're not even opening yourself up to distractions. But if you don't know
Yeah.
where you're, a direction will be given to you. You know what I'm saying? And
Wow.
so for
Yeah.
me, it's really huge to have a mission, vision, and value for everything that I'm doing. And even as it relates to finances, by God's grace, one of the reasons I do so well in business is because for me, it's not about specifically just making money or just being in business. My big thing,
Yeah.
I'm always freedom.
Mm.
So it's financial freedom to live how you want to live, give how you want to give, bless how you want to bless. Your mission has
Yeah.
become bigger than money, and your identity cannot be tied into the thing that you happen to do, for a living or for your household.
Right.
That's
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, just a couple more questions and I'll get you out of here on this. I always like to ask my guests to speak to that person that might be listening, that maybe they realize they have a passion, they understand that they have a dream inside of them, but they, for whatever reason, they haven't launched. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's distractions, maybe it's the wrong energy around you, whatever it is. How do you speak to that person that know that they have more, there's more to their life than what they're experiencing, but they maybe just don't know where to start?
Oh man, great question. Is it okay if I just share some hot sauce and I share what
Please.
one of my coaches shared with me concerning the same question?
Please,
So
by all
I,
means.
I have this coach. I won't mention her name, but she's a gazillionaire and phenomenal, man. I thank God for her. She's a beast. The young lady that's one of my business coaches. She's currently training the United States Navy on mindset. She's an animal, man,
Wow.
and
Wow.
not financially, but in so many different aspects of life. But
Yeah.
the coaching session I did with her, so I'm a part of this millionaires training with her organization. And the first coaching session I did with her, we're in a collective group format. And one of the things that she asked all of us, she said, I want you guys to write down on your ledger and explain why are you currently not a millionaire? Because everybody in this group, we're all business owners. Everybody's doing,
Yeah.
six figures, but there's a lot of people that hadn't cracked their first million. And so
Yeah.
I began to write their list down. And so she had all of us reading the list out loud. And the reason I'm going through this story, because it's gonna benefit, whoever else watches this, back to the question that you just asked. But anyway,
Yeah.
had us to write down everything that was holding us back and why we were not currently millionaires. That's what I would also say to the person that's thinking about starting a business, writing a book, moving away from the 9 to 5. You're thinking about taking a chance on yourself. You know God has given you potential, talent, XYZ, but
Yeah.
you just haven't had that impulse to just pull the trigger and take that next step, that next leap of faith. Anyway,
Yeah.
when she asked us why we're not millionaires and told us to list everything, she asked us to start, sharing with the group, our reasons for, why we haven't crossed that $1 million threshold. And so many people
Yeah.
said, like, they had mental issues, they had health issues, divorce, abandon. People were saying things like they had a spouse leaving with several kids, X, Y, and Z, bankruptcy, you name it. People had a lot of things where life is just life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. For sure.
question she asked us, she said, if you were a millionaire or a billionaire right now, what would you be doing? And so we had to write that down. If we were a millionaire, billionaire right now, what would we do? And so most people wrote down things like I would pay off my house, or I would buy a house, I would pay off my parents' house, I would take a vacation,
Yeah.
X, Y. That was kind of the gist of it. Buy a house, pay off
Right.
a house, buy my parents a house, blah, blah, blah. So most people had about 4 to 5 things that they would be doing if they were a millionaire, billionaire. And so the thing that
Yeah.
she told, and this is what I want to say to the audience. She said, when I asked you what was holding you back, she said you had a laundry list of excuses. She said, when I asked you what would you do if you were a millionaire or billionaire right now, she said you got a short list of commitments. And that's the sauce, bro.
Wow.
People
Wow.
have a list of excuses and they have a short list of commitments. That's the
Wow.
sauce. And so
Wow.
learning things like that, going back to the
Yeah.
circle, being in conversations like that. She shared with us, she
Yeah.
said, the reason that people are not winning, she said, when I ask you what's holding you back, she said, that's the same song you sing to yourself every day. And you've trained your
Wow.
brain to be intimidated and see you
Right.
as an world. And you've also trained your brain to decommit to the potential that God put on the inside of you. You got to flip that list. That's how
Wow.
you got to flip the list. Create a long
Yeah.
list of commitments and a shrinking list of excuses.
Wow. That's so powerful, man. Wow.
Yes, sir. That's sauce.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Wow, man, that's awesome, bro. That's awesome. So much knowledge. So I want to get you out of here on this, bro. What's next for Chris? What you got going on next? What do you see happening in the next few years for you?
Man, as God graces me to continue to explode things with 352 Hauling Crew, I don't know if it's something I'll one day sell or pass down to my kids or something if they want it. But
Yeah,
my next big thing will be coaching entrepreneurs and doing workshops for church leaders and things like that. Where
awesome.
one of the things I see in the church amongst predominantly African American ministries, Is
Yeah.
people lacking financially, and
Yeah.
there's no shortage of money. There's a
That's right.
shortage of mindset and the right attitude on how to do business on a corporate level. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, what I see myself doing is training future leaders how to use the potential that God put on the inside of them, and by
Yeah.
God's grace, did with 352 Hall and Crew. I think for most people, the next best move for many entrepreneurs, it's not actually the thing that everybody's doing well. Sometimes, God is saying to you, go and do the thing that everybody sucks at and everybody hates. Because if you
Mm.
can, or the woman, where nobody can sustain a thing, you become the
Yeah.
person that's able to sustain that entire industry. You become the
It's
sought after
true.
person in space. And so
Yeah.
I help, encourage people to use what's in them versus looking for success outside of them.
I love it. I love it, man. That's so good. So, I mean, where can we connect with you, Chris? Where can we connect with 352 Hall and Crew?
Man, our motto is you call, we haul. So
Yes, sir.
yes, sir. Anybody need anything, hauled, demolition, bobcat services, things of that nature. That's what we do. And then outside of that, like I said, as far as entrepreneurship coaching and things like that, if you're a serious entrepreneur, I work with people just having an LLC, and if you don't want to pay for books and insight and coaching, there's people I don't work with. But if somebody's serious, they really want to make some money, you just got to learn baby steps about investing in yourself so that you can add enough value to land the right clients. One of the
Yeah.
things that where entrepreneurs go wrong all the time, they're creating businesses to say that they're in business, but being in business and actually having a paying clientele is two completely different territories. And so,
Right.
you're going to have paying clients. You're going to have to be adding a certain kind of value. And so,
Right.
for me, man, whether it's 352 Hall and Crew or whether a person is wanting some coaching and some insight on taking their game to the next level, they can reach me at 352-519-6917. And I always say, I see everybody at the top because the bottom is too crowded.
Too crowded. I love it. I love it, man. That's what's up. Well, listen, family, there you have it. I really, it's very few times I do interviews and I'm really speechless afterwards. I really don't have a whole lot to say. Chris came dropped so much knowledge. I'm gonna have to go back and look at this again and just write down all the gems that he dropped. Listen, the only thing I want to ask of you is if this interview inspired you in any way, just do me a favor and just share it with somebody. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time, we'll holler.